Every football fan knows one thing for certain: a match lasts 90 minutes. Whether it's the Premier League, the Champions League, or the FIFA World Cup, the number never changes. But have you ever stopped and wondered, why? Out of all the possible numbers, why did football choose exactly 90 minutes? Was it a scientific decision, a random choice, or is there a fascinating story hidden behind one of sport's most famous rules? Many people believe FIFA invented the 90-minute rule. Others assume scientists carefully calculated the perfect match length. Surprisingly, both ideas are wrong. The truth is that this rule existed long before FIFA became football's governing body, and long before sports science could explain how the human body performs under intense physical pressure. The real story begins more than 160 years ago, and it's far more interesting than most fans imagine. In the early days of football, there wasn't just one version of the game. Every school, town, and club in Britain played by its own rules. Some teams allowed players to carry the ball with their hands, while others completely banned it. The size of the pitch could change from one match to another, the number of players wasn't always the same, and even the length of the game depended entirely on who organized the match. Football was growing rapidly, but it was also incredibly confusing. As more clubs began playing against each other, those differences became a serious problem. Before kickoff, teams often spent more time arguing about the rules than preparing for the match itself. Without one common rulebook, organizing fair competitions was almost impossible. If football was ever going to become more than just a local pastime, it first needed a single identity that everyone could follow. That historic moment arrived in 1863, when representatives from several football clubs gathered in London to solve the problem once and for all. Their goal was simple: to create one official set of rules for every club. That meeting resulted in the birth of the Football Association, a milestone that transformed football forever. For the first time in history, the sport had a unified foundation, allowing it to grow beyond Britain and eventually capture the entire world. But even after agreeing on the basic laws of the game, one important question remained unanswered. How long should a football match actually last? Nobody knew the perfect answer. If the game was too short, luck could decide the result before either team truly had a chance to fight back. If it was too long, players would become exhausted, the pace would slow, and the excitement would disappear. Finding the perfect balance would prove to be one of the biggest challenges in football's history. What happened next would shape every football match played over the next century and beyond. Through years of experimentation, organizers slowly discovered a format that balanced endurance, skill, tactics, and entertainment better than any other. That decision would become one of the few rules in football to survive almost completely unchanged for more than 160 years. So, how did football finally settle on exactly 90 minutes? The answer wasn't found in a laboratory or decided overnight. It emerged through experience, trial and error, and one brilliant decision that quietly changed the world's most popular sport forever. Although football finally had one official rulebook, there was still one mystery left to solve. How long should a match actually last? At first, there was no fixed answer. Different clubs continued experimenting with different match lengths, believing they had found the perfect formula. But every experiment revealed the same truth: choosing the right amount of time was much harder than anyone expected. When matches were too short, teams barely had enough time to settle into the game. One early mistake could decide the entire result, leaving no real opportunity for a comeback. The better team didn't always win because there simply wasn't enough time for tactics, teamwork, and skill to make the difference. Football needed a format where victory would be earned, not decided by luck. Making matches longer wasn't the solution either. As the minutes passed, players became exhausted, their concentration dropped, and the pace of the game slowed dramatically. Accurate passes turned into careless mistakes, attacking football became less frequent, and the excitement gradually disappeared. Organizers realized that adding more time didn't improve football, it actually reduced the quality of the spectacle. After years of observation and countless matches, one format consistently produced the best results: 2 halves of 45 minutes. It gave players enough time to build attacks, recover from setbacks, and adjust their tactics while keeping the intensity high until the final whistle. More importantly, it created matches where either team still had a genuine chance to change the outcome, making every minute feel meaningful. But there was another brilliant idea that made this format even stronger: the introduction of halftime. Those 15 minutes became much more than a simple break. They allowed tired players to recover, coaches to completely rethink their game plans, and struggling teams to return with a fresh strategy. Some of football's most famous comebacks began not with a goal, but with a tactical conversation inside the dressing room. The most remarkable part is that none of this was based on advanced technology or scientific research. Football's early organizers simply watched the game, learned from experience, and kept the format that produced the most exciting contests. Decades later, sports scientists confirmed what they had discovered by instinct: dividing an intense match into two equal halves with a short recovery break helps players maintain both physical performance and mental focus. As football spread across Europe and eventually the rest of the world, the 90-minute format spread with it. League after league adopted the same structure because it consistently delivered fair competition, tactical depth, and unforgettable drama. Before long, 90 minutes became more than just a rule, it became part of football's identity. Everything finally seemed perfect. The rules were unified, the match length was established, and football was growing faster than ever before. But hidden inside every 90-minute match was one problem that almost nobody noticed. The clock always reached 90 minutes, yet the ball itself was never in play for the full 90. Solving that problem would change football forever. By the beginning of the 20th century, the 90-minute match had become the standard across the football world. After countless experiments, clubs and competitions had all reached the same conclusion: no other format offered the perfect balance between skill, stamina, tactics, and excitement. It seemed football had finally found the ideal formula. But there was one problem that nobody had fully solved. A football match might last 90 minutes on the clock, but the ball was never actually in play for the entire 90 minutes. Every injury stopped the action. Every substitution consumed valuable seconds. Goal celebrations delayed the restart, and in close matches, teams protecting a lead often tried to waste as much time as possible. The clock continued running, even when football itself had stopped. That created a serious question. If several minutes disappeared because the ball wasn't in play, was the match still truly fair? Imagine your team desperately chasing an equalizer, only to watch precious seconds disappear because the opposition kept delaying the game. Without a solution, teams could manipulate the clock instead of winning through better football. The spirit of the game was at risk. To protect fairness, football introduced one of its smartest rules: stoppage time, or added time. Instead of stopping the match clock after every interruption, the referee simply kept track of all the lost time and added it to the end of each half. It was an elegant solution that preserved the rhythm of the game while ensuring both teams received the amount of football they deserved to play. That single decision transformed the final minutes of every match. Suddenly, reaching the 90th minute no longer guaranteed victory. Teams still had to defend with complete concentration, while the losing side always had one last chance to change history. That's exactly why some of football's most unforgettable moments have arrived deep into added time: dramatic equalizers, last-second winners, impossible comebacks, and championship-deciding goals that fans remember for a lifetime. Today, referees calculate added time more accurately than ever before. Injuries, substitutions, goal celebrations, VAR reviews, and every significant delay are carefully recorded before the fourth official announces the additional minutes. That is why modern matches sometimes continue beyond 100 minutes. Those extra minutes don't replace the 90-minute rule, they simply restore the football that was lost during the game. So why has football never abandoned the 90-minute format? Because after more than 160 years, no one has discovered a better alternative. The sport has evolved in almost every possible way. Players have become faster, tactics have become more advanced, technology has transformed refereeing, and stadiums have grown into icons of modern sport. Yet one number has remained unchanged because it continues to deliver the perfect balance between endurance, strategy, fairness, and entertainment. The next time you watch a football match, remember that the number 90 isn't just a number on the scoreboard. It's the result of decades of experimentation, centuries of tradition, and a decision that helped shape the world's most popular sport. Sometimes, the greatest ideas aren't the most complicated ones, they're the ones that continue to prove their value, generation after generation. And that is the real reason why football is still played for exactly 90 minutes.